They're talking about student groups that did not get violent, but are opposed to Israel's agenda, which is totally fair because this country is not Israel. It's not Israel. You are totally allowed to critique Israel. I mean, it's an absolute nonsense.
We're allowed to critique our own government. We're allowed to say our government are terrorists. We're allowed to say our government is criminal and crooked and corrupt. We're allowed to say all those things. In fact, Elon Musk is making a career of doing so right now, showing you all the corruption inside the USAID and the NED right now. But you're not allowed to do that with Israel. Candace Owens on Harvard defying the Trump administration. You want to hear what she had to say about it? Here you go.
Yes.
How could Trump be such a free speech enthusiast and allowing these things to happen, going after college universities, trying to suppress speech while pretending that you're not suppressing speech, while pretending that you're fighting DEI? It's so messy. It's so obvious. Everyone knows what you're doing. People who are still trying to grift, I suppose, are not willing to challenge you on this, which is ridiculous because when you are out of office, we are going to have to live with these consequences. Our children are going to have to grow up in this America. Okay.
So I first of all, I just want to say, so she's accusing people who consider themselves on the right and Trump supporters not correctly holding his feet to the fire on his crackdown on free speech, which is, by the way, even worse than what the woke left did. They just censored you on social media. What Trump is doing is trying to make it literally illegal and trying to bar you from doing business, from getting government contracts, and deporting people who are here illegally, following the rules. These are not the people that people voted for Trump to deport. These are people who would be at the end of the line. They're not even in the line. So what she's saying is that the people like over at the Daily Wire, people like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, that they're grifting now off the fumes of Trump and MAGA because they're not holding to their own principle. Well, that's been clear since day one on October 7th with Ben Shapiro, but it's becoming very clear now. And she's saying that's what I heard her say. Did you hear her say that just now? Yeah.
But wait, Jimmy, what about the fact that Harvard is now a madrasa?
Okay.
The Wall Street Journal.
Hang on.
When you threaten our speech, it's not worth it so that we can have pom-poms and go hurrah for a couple of years, then go, okay, well, yeah, now it kind of stinks because, we're getting arrested for wrongthink. We got David Friedman. Yeah. Oh.
So she's saying, so you're just going to go rah-rah for a few years while Trump is president, because Trump is going to not be president faster than you can imagine. It's going to go like that. Right? So after the midterms, he's basically a lame duck anyway. Because they're going to flip it because, believe me. And so he's really got maybe another year and 3/4 left. And then it's over. And she's saying, so what? We go rah, rah, rah while Trump is president. Then the Democrats take over. And then they start arresting people using the same. So the exact same thing I said about Barack Obama was that, they let him take away habeas corpus, meaning that Barack Obama can now imprison anybody he wants indefinitely. It's called indefinite detention without charging them. So that's what tyrants did. That's why the founding fathers put habeas corpus. That's why. So, and I warned people then, well, you think it's okay now because you like Obama, but who do you know is going to be the next president? Maybe it'll be someone you know with fucking Trump. And so now so when Barack Obama was killing American citizens, by the way, young, not even adult American citizens, he killed a 16-year-old American citizen without a trial, without charging him with anything, and he did it on purpose. And they never apologized for it. So when we allowed that to happen, when we allowed them to throw people in jail, all they had without a charge, without a trial, and all the president had to do was say, oh, well, he's a terrorist. I said, they're going to call everybody a terrorist, and now they are. So now just writing an op-ed in a newspaper gets you kicked out of the country for a thought crime. People who are playing by the rules. People who are here showing up to immigration meetings because they want on their path to citizenship, exactly what we asked them to do. And she's calling them out for that. And she's saying, guess what? When Trump's not president anymore, they're going to start locking us up. You fucking idiots. They're going to start locking us up for speech. It's going to be used against us, which is exactly what's going to happen. Here we go. Well, just like I said about the lawfare. I said, you're doing lawfare against Trump? You don't think when Trump becomes president, he's going to come right after his enemies? That's exactly what he's doing. And you can't say shit about it because you did it to him. And that was the case I was making to Cornel West on the show. If they can do this to Donald Trump, an ex-president of the United States, they're going to do it to you if you become a threat. They're going to do it to Bernie Sanders. They'll do it to Jill Stein. They'll do it to anybody. They
did do it to him.
Yeah, they did. Here we go.
Arrest them. Arrest Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Get them. I love it. Everyone can see what's happening left and right. So to give you the background, obviously after October 7th, there were tons of student protests all across the nation. Some got violent, some didn't. But what has happened is people started demanding that universities start, taking on their own sorts of definitions for anti-Semitism, particularly the IHRA new updated definition of anti-Semitism, which I believe was, I think it was drafted by the ADL, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly. The ADL put this together. Nothing good comes from the ADL. Their backstory is they were initially a gang that went mainstream, and their job is to suppress speech and to smear people, not to defend people against defamation. They are actually the defamers. That's why they think they're clever by calling themselves the Anti-Defamation League when they actually routinely engage in defamation. Anyways, this is Harvard received notice that they had to comply with the Trump administration's demands, okay, and essentially telling them how they would have to change things on campus. And they're, again, the administration is trying to paint this as they're coming and fighting DEI on campus, and they're not doing that. I'm going to show you it so you can see it with your own eyes. On Monday, Harvard became the first university to openly defy the Trump administration as it demanded sweeping changes to limit activism on campus. Activism is like synonymous with campus, okay? The university frames the government's demands as a threat not only to the Ivy League school, but to the autonomy that the Supreme Court has long granted American universities.
And do you remember what Ben Shapiro used to say when they were banning right-wing speakers on college campuses? He would say that you're not entitled to a defense of your hurt feelings. Facts don't care about your feelings. And when you go to college, you're supposed to be exposed to all different kinds of opinion and stuff that actually challenges you, and it might even bother you. That's the whole point of college. They completely threw all that out the window because they have no principles. Those type of people they're unburdened by their principles. And so they don't. So that's exactly what she's saying. So you remember that, right? You remember the videos we showed over and over of Ben Shapiro saying that you can't be a snowflake. You don't deserve a safe space. College isn't a safe space. If you want a safe space, stay home. College is supposed to be for robust debate and ideas that challenge you and make you uncomfortable. Well, now Trump, doing the bidding of Israel and the Zionists, is now turned all that on their head. And so does, by the way, Ben Shapiro. Same thing with Jordan Peterson, completely revealing themselves as charlatans who are unprincipled. And that's what she's calling out.
Wow. They said in a quote, "The university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights." That's what the university lawyer said on Monday. They continued, "Neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. The federal government says it's freezing more than $2.2 billion in grants and $60 million in contracts to Harvard unless, essentially, we are going to hold your funding unless you comply with these demands." And I'm going to show you, because Harvard has released it, what they're asking them to do. First, I should tell you they've already complied with adopting the IRHA definition of anti-Semitism, which is ridiculous. But so how you have to read this is everywhere, and Scott, if you don't mind making that a little bigger for me,
Imagine if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made colleges adopt language that made it illegal for you to dead name a trans person, made it illegal and called it hate speech for you to criticize Black Lives Matter protests or Black Lives Matter. Imagine if they did that. This is the exact same thing that Trump is doing, which they never did, by the way. They never threatened to take away people's funding. They never deported people over it. They never arrested people over it. They never did any of that stuff. They never threatened people's government contracts, business-wise. So what Trump is doing is actually way worse.
Where that you see the word anti-Semitism, you have to ask yourself what the definition, the new definition of anti-Semitism is, because now we're at critique of Israel, the foreign state, essentially. So as they frame it down there as the discontinuation of DEI, which would be a good thing, saying that we want people to be merit-based and to let go of DEI-based policies, that would be a great thing because that is how the nation should run. They are actually asking them to reform programs that have egregious records of anti-Semitism or other biases, telling them to look at specific programs. Scroll down, Skylar, I want to get to them essentially just framing this as them needing to take a look at who they're even allowing to come to Harvard on foreign visas and whether or not they disagree with Israel's policies. Like you have to adopt new policies about student groups or clubs that forbid or endorse certain activities. They're talking about student groups that did not get violent, but are opposed to Israel's agenda, which is totally fair because this country is not Israel. It's not Israel. You are totally allowed to critique Israel. I mean, it's an absolute nonsense.
We're allowed to critique our own government. We're allowed to say our government are terrorists. We're allowed to say our government is criminal and crooked and corrupt. We're allowed to say all those things. In fact, Elon Musk is making a career of doing so right now, showing you all the corruption inside the USAID and the NED right now. But you're not allowed to do that with Israel. a foreign country. So these aren't even offenses against your own country. They're doing it as for another country. This is not America first. This is make Israel great again.
It's telling them that these people need to be suspended, that they can't be allowed on campus. Again, making us think that Bibi Netanyahu must be the president of the United States and Trump has no idea what's going on. And I tend to think that there is a person who tells Trump that the press is favorable, that they love this, that people are loving this. Trump's not on YouTube. He's not on X. He says something to someone and they tweet it. Somebody decides what articles to put in front of him every morning. I know that for a fact, okay? So he who is picking that article, he who is telling him what tweets to look at is the person that is shaping Trump's understanding of what his base feels.
So she's saying Trump's out of touch with his base. My experience is that is correct. And he's being lied to by his advisors. I've done videos of it. Stephen Miller, right on camera, lied to Trump about the 9-0 Supreme Court decision, which went against Trump. He said it was in their favor, in Trump's favor. I showed it. YouTube suppressing the shit out of this show right now. It only got maybe 30,000 views on YouTube. It got like 40, 50,000 views on Rumble. And it's funny. Things are switching now. I'm getting more views on Rumble than I am on YouTube because YouTube has changed their algorithm to crack down on shows like this even harder because we're considered borderline content. But I've showed this to you before. And by the way, Trump's not doing anything about Google cracking down on people. He's not demanding that the algorithms be made public and that everybody be treated the same. He's not doing any of that. In fact, he's bringing in a whole new level of authoritarian censorship at the behest of another country. And he's creating a protected class, and they're called Jewish people. But most of the Jews I know don't want anything to do with it. Most of the Jews I know are against Zionism, don't want anything to do with Israel. So it's not just Jewish people he's protecting. He's protecting Zionists, not even Jewish people, Zionists. Is that it?
How could Trump be such a free speech enthusiast and allowing these things to happen, going after college universities, trying to.
So here's one more. So, and by the way, all tyrants goes after intellectuals first, right? You know that, right? Just like Pol Pot killed everybody who wore a pair of glasses, right? So,
what type of glasses? Any or like that kind that I do hate?
All tyrants go after intellectuals because intellectuals see through tyranny, while everybody else is eating Cheetos in front of their TV. The problem is he went after Ivy League schools thinking he would find intellectuals there, but they're mostly gone except for Harvard. The rest are only there because their parents could afford it.
Yeah.
So here we go.
It seems to me a backseat. And I would say, by the way, as an extension of that, also the MAGA movement. It sort of feels like they're doing the bare minimum for Americans and what we actually put them in office for, and then doing the absolute maximum for like Bibi Netanyahu's entire agenda.
So when she says the MAGA movement is doing the bare minimum, she means the people in power. She doesn't mean the actual grassroots MAGA movement, because I meet those people all the time at my shows. I met them when I went to the defense, that rally in Washington, D.C. What was I forget the name of it now. Rescue the Republic rally. They were all there holding Free Palestine placards. They were saying free speech for everybody. When I said free speech for everybody, including Nazis, they cheered. They understand that free speech is an absolute, that it doesn't come from the government, that it comes from God, and that the founders of the country, the writers of the Constitution, said free speech is a right that comes from God. It's not a privilege given to you from the government, because if it's given to you from the government, that's not a right. That's a privilege that they can take away, which Trump is trying to do right now. And what the founders of the government and of the country and the writers of the Constitution actually said was that free speech is a right that comes from God, and the government will not interfere with that right. While being like, oh, but look, we did, at least Tom Homan did get out 2,000 criminals in the border. We've stopped it. And we've asked you for a lot more. The mandate was a lot more. And you seem to have, in just 3 months, done so much for Israel. You know what I mean? Yeah. If we could dedicate that same energy to what you promised everyone that you were going to do for Americans, that would be great. But once again, we're left feeling like this is just a slave colony.
Yeah. And the fact that the movement is called America First originally, and that is a stroke of genius because it is so hard. They're trying their best, but it's so hard to make what they're doing look America first. And they're trying to do all these backwards arguments. Like, how is passing speech laws that like in some cases criminalize, or at the very least, kick you out of school, pull your federal funding if you criticize Israel? There are no laws about racism in America. If you Google right now, there is no recognized definition of racism by our government. But if you Google America's official definition of anti-Semitism, there's a whole page on the State Department's website about anti-Semitism. And so how do you call this America First when we are explicitly going against our First Amendment of our Constitution on behalf of a different nation? And inside of those guidelines, they specifically say that Jewish people would have more allegiance to Israel than to America because they're Jewish. That's anti-Semitic to say, while out of their mouths, they're saying we need to do these things for Israel, or like, I am a Jew first above all else. Things like that are like, how are we going along with this cognitive dissonance?
So anti-Semites would actually make the accusation that Jews don't have loyalty to America, that Jews have loyalty to Israel. Well, that's exactly what Trump is doing. And that's how he's perverting the MAGA movement to have more loyalty to Israel and Zionism than to the United States and our First Amendment and our Constitution. So isn't it ironic and perverted that they're now taking what actual anti-Semites used to say and do, and they're now spinning it, and they're adopting that. They're conflating Zionism with Jewish people. They're saying all Jews. It's funny. You know who does that? Zionists conflate Zionism with Jews. And you know who else does that? Anti-Semites.
Well, Jimmy, you got to have the anti-Semitism to feed new immigrants to the safe space that is Israel.
Yeah.
So it's very helpful to stoke. You'd be like, hey, I would think cracking down on people's rights they get from their own constitution, that might feed the anti-Semites a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's good, because then they'll see there's only one safe space, one unsafe space.
So they know that doing this, cracking down on free speech of Americans, violating our First Amendment and every value we ever had at the behest of a terrorist state, they know that that's going to create actual anti-Semitism, and they love it because then they can point to it and say, see, we need to have these laws that protect a protected class of people. We need to have this, see? So they're the ones actually inciting and fomenting and energizing anti-Semitism so they could go, look, it exists. Isn't it? It's how lucky for them.
Woke right tactics.
It's a woke right.
Left. The woke
and that's
left,
why the crackdown,
try to provoke you.
Yes, that's right. And that's why the crackdown on Joe Rogan came so swiftly and so overwhelmingly, because they can't have the number one show in America telling you the truth about Israel. They're afraid of the truth. Censorship is not there to protect you from misinformation. That's there to protect you from information. You know what we want from Donald Trump? We want him to start funding the United States instead, just so we can have our own genocide as we take over Canada. That's all. So here, look at this. So if you're MAGA, you side with Trump, period. No, you don't. Your allegiance isn't to a person. That's what they do in North Korea. They have allegiance to a person. In the United States, we have allegiance to the Constitution, and we have allegiance to our values and free speech. The reason why people back Trump is for his ideas, not because they like the cut of his jib.
Wait,
people had allegiance to Trump's ideas, just like I had allegiance to Bernie Sanders' ideas, not Bernie Sanders. And as soon as Bernie Sanders did a 180 on his own beliefs, and I called him out on it. I didn't have allegiance to Bernie Sanders. I had allegiance to the ideas that he was pushing, which by the way, a lot of MAGA agreed with. Steve Bannon came out on the show and said Bernie Sanders is great at identifying the problem. So,
Jimmy, that guy, cool Christian engineer, I promise you that's that's
a bot.
Well, I was a bot. Might be a guy who's writing that, because I got like weird attacks coming to me where I don't think a bot wrote it, But you see how he goes, if you're MAGA, you side with Trump, period. So this is cool Christian engineer at I'm cool Christian. That sounds like some Israeli guy trying to think how a Christian would make their
That's
name.
exactly what it sounds like.
And you would never side with Trump, period. If you were that Christian, you would be suspicious of that.
And we just exposed, or the Gray Zone just exposed, or reported here, that there was over 100 ex-IDF spies working for Facebook and Meta and Instagram, making sure that everybody gets censored. You don't think there's just as many at Twitter? I mean, Elon Musk's a huge fucking hypocrite on free speech, and because he's a Zionist himself, and he bends the knee and fillets Benjamin Netanyahu, just like Trump, just like Marco Rubio, just like everybody in the Trump administration. They're betraying MAGA. They're betraying the Constitution. They're betraying what they campaigned on. Candace Owens has gone completely off the rails. Yeah, by being consistent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's gone completely off the rails. You mean the rails she's always been on? She's went off the rails concerning Jews and Israel. No, it's not concerning Jews and Israel. It's concerning Zionists. Lots of Jews are against. Almost all the Jews I know are not on board with Israel or Zionism.
That looks like an AI.
There's also Dog 13 Young. These aren't real people. These are Israeli bots. She has become a Jew hater. No, she's not. I can't stand to watch her, listen to her anymore. Sad, because she's smart, and I used to watch her. Yes, she's smart, and you're a bot. Sergeant Shitpost, now that's a real person.
Yeah,
says she's pointing out that Trump is serving Israel, and most of us didn't vote for that.
That's right.
Exactly. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene has tweeted out when Trump bombed Yemen at the behest of Israel. Nobody voted for this. Nobody voted for this. This is not what people voted for. This is what Israeli bots want you to think they voted for. This is not what they voted for. And Trump is being misinformed 100%. I saw it happen right in front of my eyes. And then that gets suppressed by Google and YouTube because they're also in bed with the Zionists and the intelligence community and the CIA. That's why. That's why we're being suppressed like a maniac right now. We're completely demonetized on Facebook. I can't even buy an advertisement to promote my tour on Facebook. That's how much we're suppressed on Facebook and Meta, because there's 100 IDF spies working for Zuckerberg and Facebook. That's why. So this is what, and Trump isn't stopping any of that. He's helping it. And you don't think the same people are working at Twitter? You think the same people are working at Meta? Yes. And that's why they want to ban TikTok. We all know it. It's not even debatable anymore. They admit it on camera that the reason why we got to get rid of TikTok is because of Israel. So they're taking away when they take away TikTok, they're not taking away TikTok's ability to spread information. They're taking away American citizens' ability to hear information. I have a right to hear someone. So when you silence and censor someone, you're also censoring my right to hear them. All right, we got...
the first thing you said, Jimmy, was the best thing, which is Trump's only there for, a year and a half before he's a lame duck.
Yes.
Okay?
And then they're going to use this against you.
Yeah, Palantir is forever.
That's right, Palantir. And I showed you before the video. I don't have time to show it to you now, but the head of Palantir, which is another CIA cutout, works for the CIA. What he said, the head of Palantir said, Alex Karp, said that the battle for the narrative around Israel on college campuses, that is the fight. Why is that the fight? Why do we have to win that? Why do we have to censor them? Why do we have to completely stop their free speech? Because if they win this battle, which, by the way, they're winning, even though they're being censored, will never be able to deploy an army in the Western world ever again. That's from the head of Palantir, which is like it's coming right from the CIA, which is like it's coming right from Mossad and Netanyahu, and it's coming right from the Trump administration right now. Hey, free speech is under attack, but Rumble refuses to back down. We've always believed in empowering voices, no matter how unpopular, and now we're taking that fight to the next level. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their backs, claiming Rumble had a right-wing culture. But we're not here to fit a mold. We're here to defend free expression. To strengthen this mission, we're excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from creators like Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, and the Mug Club with Crowder. It's more than just a subscription. It's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using promo DORE10. Visit Rumble today. Go visit rumble.com/premium/Dore10 and claim your discount today. Together, we can turn the tide, whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching. Your support helps keep free speech alive. Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Bakersfield, San Jose, California, Buffalo, New York, Toledo, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.